And we are live. So, welcome again to the 11th installment of the Create Your New Life real estate training presented by Brooks and Davis Real Estate Firm. So, we had a great talk on last week about connecting the dots, and I want to continue that conversation today because I just think it is so critical on being successful in this business, understanding how it all works together, how putting the bits and pieces that we learn on a consistent basis, putting those bits and pieces to where they all connect. Because if you never get to the point to where you can connect them, then you're not positioning yourself to be successful in this business. You have to, you can go to the webinars, you can read the books, you can find out the new tools, the new resources. Yet if you're never able to get them to work in concert, to get them to work in conjunction, then you're not going to be able to have a sustaining business when it comes to real estate. So I really want to spend some time talking through that. So this is the part 2 of that discussion. All right, so before we get into it, though, there's an article that I pulled up, and again, I really encourage you, it's a part of your membership. These realtor magazines, the Houston Realtor, the Texas Realtor, the Realtor magazine, which comes from the Nationals, for you to read these magazines and see what's in there. Self-improvement is one of the tenets, I guess, of the model that we operate around here at Brooks and Davis. So this is a great way to stay sharp on what's happening in the business, what's happening in the industry, so you can be more versatile. And in this article that we're going to talk about is going to speak to that as well. This is actually the article. I took it out. I also made a copy of it. Let me share my screen. I took a picture of it to show you all on, let's see. So there's a picture of it, of the article that's in the slides that we're going to be looking at, that's going to be in the folder that I do every week for our trainings. So the name of the article is 3 Reasons Why You're Not Making More Money in Real Estate. I thought it was real relevant to the conversations that we've been having. So 3 reasons you're not making more money in real estate, and the author was Fred Weaver. And again, it was found in this magazine. And the subline of the article is, and what to do to rectify the situation. Now, contrary to belief, people feel like once you get your real estate license, it's just inevitable that you're going to just begin making money. Contrary to common belief is that when you go to real estate school and you graduate from real estate school, that you should come out having the knowledge and the understanding of how to make money in this business, right? Now, for you all that I've had personal conversations with, you'll hear me say this a lot, that just because when you go to real estate school, those schools aren't teaching you or training you how to make money in this business. Those schools are training you how to pass the real estate exam. When you take Principles 1 or Principles 2 or contracts, finance, that stuff's not going to speak to you about how to do this business. So when you come out, you're not going to be prepared to make money in this business. You're not going to be prepared to do this business. That falls in line with whatever company that you decide to go with. They're the ones that are going to be responsible for making sure that you're making money in this business. So that's contrary to common belief. Well, what this article talks about is, he says the 3 reasons that you're not making money, the very first reason is leads, right? What he says is that, and actually this was a very scary statement that he stated in this article. It said that every year hundreds of thousands of new real estate agents come in the front door of this industry. Hundreds of thousands come into our industry every year, while nearly the same number of real estate agents exit out the back door of the industry. Says that the attrition rate, and it wasn't confirmed, but it's believed that the attrition rate for our business, for our industry, is 30%, meaning 30% of people get out of this business every year. So it's staggering the amount of people that are leaving, but yet and still we have so many people that are trying to get into the business. There clearly has to be a disconnect of why so many people are not staying. And a lot of it, I think this article speaks to, and a lot of it has to do with, or the rectification of this must come from the person that's training you in this business and your company. So it says there are 2 million, an estimate of about 2 million real estate professionals nationally. So there's a number of people in our industry. I mean, I quote this number a lot, 32 plus thousand real estate professionals in our metroplex. So there's a lot of people in our industry. But what the article says is that of that 2 million, very few are prospering at the level that they once imagined. And that's why I name our training Create Your New Life. Because the reason that people get into this business is that they want that new life. They want that flexibility. That's what the article says. They want that six-figure income. They want that flexibility of having their own schedule, that dream that, you know, HGTV sells them, right? You know, everybody's looking at HGTV, and that's why they're making their decision that they want to get into real estate. Looking at $1 Million Listing, looking at, you know, List or the, you know, just all of the shows that come on that, Bravo, HGTV, the Do-It-Yourself Network, that really glamorize the business that we're in. And to be honest with you, it is a glamorous business to be in. It just requires a lot of skill set, understanding, learning before you can start living that life of glamour that is being sold. In the article, it calls it a farce. It says in the real estate world, most of us live in is a farce, what's being presented on the TV, right? But it doesn't have to be that way. So the very first thing that the article talks about is, you know, one of the reasons to not making more money in this business has to do with leads, has to do with lead generating. And Fred calls it a tragedy. It's a tragedy of the real estate schools in America is that they fail to discuss how to generate leads, right? So again, he's echoing what I'm saying, that the real estate schools are not teaching you how to do this business. Saying that one of the reasons that you're not making money is because you don't, not having an understanding and a full all-out commitment of lead generation, right? That falls right in line with what we train, what we teach here when it comes to lead generation and lead follow-up. That's a part of your job description that you need to be doing on a consistent basis and be committed to it. And that's what they're saying is the reason that so many people are not making money in this business and they're not lasting, is what Mr. Weaver talks about. The second thing he says is skills. He says skills is one of the reasons on why you're not making the money in real estate that you should be making. Says that if you can overcome the first hurdle and learn to generate leads. Notice how he says learn to generate leads. I was having a conversation yesterday. Actually, I had to take an Uber to an event, and my Uber driver, his wife, he's married to, she's a realtor. Says she's been a realtor for about 5 or 6 years or 7 years, right? So I'm not gonna say no names because he was kind of hard on his wife as far as about being in this business, saying how she's not making any money, and she's been with these different companies, and yet and still she's all these years, and she may do a couple of deals a year, and she's full time. So he was really hard on her. He was really bashing her pretty rough. But one of the things that I told him was that you come out, a lot of the agents come out and they want leads. Like they want a company that's going to give them leads, right? And they want to question and argue the commission splits. So that's a lot of the new realtors coming out. Well, this article says you need to learn how to generate leads. It's not about Brooks and Davis or Keller Williams or Century 21 or whatever real estate company. It's not about them handing you leads. It's about that company teaching and training you how to generate leads, right? We've all heard the parable. You can don't give a man a fish, you teach a man how to fish, right? Or they say if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime, right? We're here to create your life. I mean, create you a new life. So it's not about giving you leads to where we can feed you once. It's about teaching you how to generate your own leads so you can run your own successful business. That's what we're here to do. So it says if you can learn how to overcome that first hurdle and learn to generate leads, then a lack of skill-based training, meaning that you don't know what to say. All right. The transactional aspect of things, there's a lot of access to that, especially on the internet. And even with Brooks and Davis in your 7-dot training folder, right? You know, I sat down and I wrote out exactly how to do the transactional side of this business. So how to work with buyers. When you get that phone call, what do you say? What are the scripts? You know, when you have the meeting or the appointment, what does that look like? What are the forms? So we give you all of that in the 7-dot training folder. Working with sellers, working with apartments and tenants. So you have that transactional side of things on what to say and how to say it, how to do the appointments. You have the videos that kind of speak to that. So that's just about you taking the time to sit down and look at the videos and read through the processes. But at the end of the day, you doing those activities is what's going to get you well versed in that stuff. You increasing your skill set on the transactional side of things is going to come from you having those multiple transactions, those multiple opportunities. Hey, you may have a listing appointment, you may not get the listing, but you're going to learn what kind of adjustments you need to make in the future. You may have a buyer's appointment, they may not be willing to sign the client broker loyalty agreement or the buyer's rep, but you have some experience on what you can learn from that opportunity. That's where you're going to get well versed and skilled on those transactional opportunities happening. Now, how do you get those opportunities? You get those opportunities from lead generation and lead follow-up. From the things that we really push here at Brooks and Davis is you get that volume, get that opportunity to learn these things, but you got to get that from committing to that lead generation, that lead follow-up on a consistent basis. The last thing it talks about is your mindset, which goes a little bit into what we talked about last week, right? We talked about that clarity, having that big goal that you're shooting for, having that purpose of why you're doing what you're doing, and those values that you operate by, and you being clear and concrete on what those are, right? You being comfortable in your own skin of who you are and who God's created you to be. Well, it talks about here that mindset says that we all deal with doubt and fear. The question is, how do you respond to those doubts and those fear? It's all in between your head, right? Tiger Woods, one of the greatest golfers that we probably ever seen in our lifetime. And because of some choices that he made and some decisions that he made, he went from the top to the bottom very quickly. Now, did all of those thousands of hours that he put into working on his swing, did they just instantaneously go away? Did all of that effort that he put into practice, all of those tournaments that he won, all of that knowledge that he had picked up to where he increased his skill set to get him to that level of plateau, did that just happen to evaporate overnight? No. What happened was that his head got thrown off because of all this junk that he brought into his life. And because his head got thrown off, he wasn't able to recover. Real estate, just like most competition, is 90% mental. It's not 20%, it's not 50%, it's 90% mental. The majority of why you're not performing to the level of your capabilities has to do with your head, and it has to do with this mindset that this article talks about. Getting your mind together and not trying to not be afraid, because fear is a part of life. You're going to be afraid to do things. You're going to be afraid of that rejection. That's going to be there. It's about how do you respond with that fear? How do you continue to move forward in spite of the fear, in spite of the doubt? How do you continue to keep moving in that particular direction and just trust that it is going to turn out the way that you want it to turn out? That's what it has to do with in between your ears, right? So the key takeaways, and then we'll move on. It says to commit to your craft. The day you think you know it all or you've heard it all is the day your decline will begin. What do we say? We say self-improvement, right? That's one of the tenets that we go off of. That's self-improvement, which is something that should be done on a consistent basis. You should always be committed to learning. One of our values is to continually learning, improving, and operating in the most productive manner. That's something that you're always doing. So his key takeaway was for you to commit to your craft. Get accountable. Find an accountability buddy or hire a coach. Well, for all my Brooks and Davis agents, you just signed up with a coach. You got somebody that's going to hold you accountable. You just need to want it, right? And that's a one-on-one conversation that you need to have with me and say, hey, Michael, Mr. Davis, I want you to hold me accountable to these things that you're teaching, to these things that you're training. I want you to hold me accountable to it. So you guys don't have to go pay a Brian Buffini or Mike Ferry or anybody. All you have to do is just call me and say, hey, look, I want you to hold me accountable to some things. Hold me accountable to the things that you've talked about. And it's already included. No extra money got to come out of your pocket for this stuff. You know, a lot of people forget when you first get into this business, you don't have any money. That's why you're getting into the business, is you're getting into the business to start making money. So how can we put all of these financial burdens on you when you haven't got into a position to where you can produce income, right? So you'll see a lot of the things that we have to offer, it's geared around putting you in a position to where you can make money. And then the last one is work on your mind. What you focus on and think about matters. Pay attention to what you're paying attention to. Pay attention to what you're listening to on the radio. Pay attention to what you're looking at on TV, because a lot of that has to do with your psyche and, you know, your feelings and you know, your thoughts. All of that has to do with what you're taking a look at and what you're inputting into your mind on a consistent basis. So you need to be aware of those things. So it just says, he ends it with, Mr. Weaver ends it with a couple of things, just saying commit to educating yourself on the best practices in lead generation, which is, again, something that we're always pushing. He says focusing on lead generation in a minimum of 2 hours every day. Where have you guys heard that? Right? That's what I push. That's what I push to you all. Lead generate at least 2 hours a day. If you're a full-time agent and you're not doing at least 100 contacts per week, then what are you doing? So right here, Mr. Weaver saying the same thing. At least 2 hours a day. Find scripts and dialogue. You guys have access to that in your 7.training folder. And then commit to setting your mind right at the beginning of each day. Find somebody accountability. So I thought this was a great article. Again, it was found in this magazine. Read your magazines. This isn't stuff that I'm just creating or pulling out of the sky. This is stuff that you all have access to, but you just may not be taking the time to read them. So I'll just point some of them out that I think are great options for you. Okay, so that was the article. There was another article that did come across my desk. I posted it on my social media, but I thought it was a good article, and we're going to talk maybe about 5 minutes through it. Let me share my screen. Okay, so this is from Redfin. Redfin's a real estate brokerage company, and actually this email was sent to me from a builder colleague. They sent me this email, and I read it, and I was like, man, that's sweet. So there were 4 things that it kind of pointed out that I thought were awesome things to know. So the first thing was, and now the responses to what Redfin came up with, all of this stuff is data driven, right? So, you know, Redfin, like Zillow, Realtor.com, they deal a lot with analytics and data, surveys. So they're using numbers to justify their thoughts around things, right? So it's not about, oh, I think this will work, or I feel like this should be the case. No, it's the numbers thing. That's why I love numbers, because numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. I love them. I love numbers. Okay, so the first thing was, what's the best day to put a house on the market, right? And based on their numbers, it says Thursday. Thursday is the day to put a house on the market. Why? It says the numbers show the likelihood of selling above list price. You have a 22% better chance if you list your house on Thursday. Who knew that? Like, who thinks about this stuff? It says the average sale to list price percentage is higher if you list on Thursday. It says 98.4%. And then it says the average days on market is lower if you list on Thursday. Who thinks of these things, right? But here, look at this. The numbers are saying that you have a better success of selling this house faster, closer to list price or higher if you just shift a little bit and list it on Thursday and get your sellers to commit to listing on Thursday. Says on average, homes listed on Thursdays get closer to $2,300 more than houses listed on Sunday. How about that? Okay, so Thursday is the day. So the next question they said was, do open houses make a difference? And I'm going to take this article, I'm going to put it in your 7-dot training, probably in Good Stuff. Probably put this article in Good Stuff. Do open houses make a difference? Right? If you all were sitting in a room with me, then I would probably ask you that question and say, you know, raise your hand if you think open houses make a difference. Because there's such a huge part of our business, but do they really cause any level of impact with what we do? All right. So what Redfin found out, look, the first word is not really. Not really. Now, look, before you go into a listing appointment and you sit face to face with a seller and you tell him, because he's going to ask you how many open houses are you going to do, and before you tell him not really, don't you think it would be better if you had a copy of this this article with you, or the multiple other resources that show or prove that open houses don't really make a difference? Don't you think it would be better if you had that to show your seller versus it just coming out of your mouth? See, you don't want to be the bearer of bad news. You don't want to be the bearer to try to get somebody's mind frame of what they thought to change, because there's a reason that seller thinks the way he thinks. There's some things that he's seen, people that he's talked to. There's a rationale and a thought process that he's formulated. So you don't want to be the person to go against his thought process, because now that's going to adjust how he sees you, how he feels about you. And he may just not like you because you're going against something that he's believed or thought his entire life. So you don't want to be that person. You let Redfin tell him that open houses don't make a difference. Because the worst thing that you could do is waste your time doing an open house when the numbers show that they really don't work. All right, so what does Redfin say about open houses? It says it's a great way to get attention with signs, balloons, and cookies and lots of people, but they rarely lead to a higher price or quicker sale. So the open house is not really for the seller. Now, it's good for you as a professional because it gives you an opportunity to generate leads, but it's absolutely not good for the seller no matter what. Now, if you're going to use it as an opportunity to lead generate, then that's the way that you frame it, and you got to make sure that you knock on the doors, put the signs out. You're really doing it for you, not necessarily to sell your house. The open house is not going to sell your house. So one of the things that it talked about was it depends on the area that you're in, because here it says in Austin, 26% of homes that were not held open sold above list price, while just 17% of those with open houses did. And now what Redfin says, that's likely because because Austin's market is so hot, houses are being sold in a day, 2 days, 3 days. So the houses aren't on the market long enough to even be held open. So that means by the time that house needs to be held open, that's probably one of those houses that nobody really wanted in the first place. So they're the less desirable houses on the market. So that's why that looks like that. But that's a 10% difference, right? So the conclusion of what Redfin is saying is that it's not the open houses, even in the markets to where it does. And they pointed out California. And they said in California, 6% of the houses did, if they were held. Here we go. So in ultra competitive San Francisco, homes that had an open house sold for about 6% more on average than homes not held open. So that's about a difference of $60,000. So 6%, but that's in California, right? Now, so the point of what Redfin was saying here with the open house was that it had to do with the demand, right? So here it's saying it's not the open house driving the price. It's the strong demand. Again, Austin is so hot that only undesirable homes linger for weeks. So it's not the open house that's pushing it. It's the market that you're in, and it's if that market is driving homes, that's what's driving that price up, not necessarily you holding the home open. Now, there is a way to facilitate an open house, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about it now, but what it does is it kind of taps into that demand thing that Redfin's talking about here, creating a level of demand for your listing. The concept is like this: you don't allow any showings until the open house. You put the house on the market, right? You put it on the MLS, and then in the agent remarks you put no showings until the open house. So you'll have that open house on Saturday or Sunday. Don't put an ending time. Just say open house 2 o'clock. Bump. All right. Don't do any showings. All right. With such a technology world, with such a social media world, you can put your open house on. You can advertise that on HAR, right? You can put it on your social media. You can put it on, you know, if you have your email blast and things set up, you can send out an email blast around it. Put your signs out. Put a sign in the yard saying at the home about the open house, right? So now what you've done is you've created this buzz, this week of buzz that you've created for people wanting to see the inside of this house. And in your marketing, you put in there, no showings until the open house, right? So now you've created this buzz, this excitement around your listing. Well, by the time the open house gets there, ideally, you'll have all of these people wanting to see it, right? Well, now you've created this buzz, you've created this environment of energy, and now a person that does want to probably purchase the home, they're not going to wait. They're not going to wait, right? Because they're looking at 20, 30 people here at this open house that are showing interest in this home. If I'm really interested, I better hurry up and submit my offer, right? So you put yourself in a very strong position to get the house sold, not because of the open house, but because of the demand that you've created through the vehicle of the open house. So that's another way to capitalize on that demand that Redfin's talking about. All right, so they talked about a professional pictures worth it. Yes, absolutely. Professional pictures are worth it. Now, they put the advantage, where the advantage is. So now, are professional pictures worth it in the price point less than $200,000? Well, the numbers show no, right? But in between that $200,000 up to $1 million, it's saying that properties with better quality of pictures sell for higher. That listings, that camera and lenses, listing photos on an average, the houses sold for $3,400 more than homes that just had regular pictures. And then again, homes with professional photos sell faster. So less than $200,000, you see where the numbers are, but you really see where the sweet spot is, right? And which kind of makes sense because if you're going to spend money to get professional pictures done, then you want to make sure your commission amount, your profit from the commission really justifies you paying that extra expense. But if you can sell it a lot faster, right, between the 400 and 500,000 mark, that's almost a month faster than houses that don't have professional pictures. Then it just makes sense. Now, if you got but look at it this way: if you have a client and it's a $60,000, an $80,000 house, or a $150,000 house, and they're talking about you spending money to get professional pictures, I mean, really, you're just spending your money because the numbers aren't showing that you're really going to be able to sell that house for more, or but you will, be able to sell that house faster. So that's more money to you in your pocket, but you're not just gonna. It's not gonna be reflected on you getting a higher commission. All right. So then, how should I price my home? So that was that's kind of an easy one, right? Remember, this article is not just to realtors, it's to for sale by owners and everything. But you got to price it right. Price is important. The longer that it stays on the market, the less opportunity you have to sell the home. And that's just something that you really want to communicate to your seller. So that was the fourth thing. So then the article ends with the methodology of how they came up with their numbers. But my point was the real big standout to me was the day of the week, the open house piece, and the photography. So I felt like it was something that we could really talk about today. was a great opportunity for us to share. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about connecting these dots. All right. Again, we talked about it last week, and I want to talk about it again this week. So instead of just saying lead generation, lead follow-up, going on appointments, I want to show you, give you some scenarios, and this is again what I did last week, give you some scenarios of how all of that stuff is connected and how it all works together. Okay, so let's start with our ideal day, right? When the alarm clock goes off, what do? Right? When you had a job, you knew what to do. You would go to your job for whatever time you needed to be there, whether 7:30, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. You had a day that you had a time that you were supposed to start working. So it was real easy, real simple for you to put a routine around that, right? So now, how do you duplicate that routine to now that you're in a position that you're owning your own business, you know, you're working for yourself? How do you take that routine and duplicate that routine to where you can capitalize off that? All right, so you put your feet, you know, your alarm clock goes off, you get out the bed. What's the first thing you do? Well, it's the first thing you did when you had a job. Get yourself together, put your clothes on, and act like you're finna go to work. The exact same thing. It ain't you, the alarm clock's going off, and I'm just hanging around in my robe and I cut the TV on. No, it's you get up. You get up so you can go to work. You should. I mean, some people don't. I mean, you get into real estate, and now you own your. You know, you own your own schedule. You make your own schedule. So now you probably ain't even using an alarm clock. You just wake up when your body says to get up. Like there's no routine around it. You can't do that. Like you gotta stop that in the middle. So you got to. The alarm clock goes off. Get up as if you was going to your job. Brush your teeth. Put your clothes on and be ready to go, right? You need to have a start time, right? So I'm going to pull my calendar up. Let's go here. All right, you need to have your start time. What time does your day begin? So this is Monday. This is for next Monday. What time will my day begin? It begins at 8 o'clock. That's what time my day begins. So when my alarm goes off at 6 o'clock, I get up, I put my clothes on, I brush my teeth, and I go to work. Now, whether that's you going to an office, right, or that's you just going to where your computer is. Maybe you have a study in your room or going to the kitchen table. I don't care where you go. Where you go, though, you need to have on your clothes and be ready to work. Because if you're lead generating, you make a phone call and say you get a listing a for sale by owner or somebody wanting to sell their house, and they say come see me now. You got 20 minutes. Be over to my house. They ain't got time for you to go now. Get yourself together. Boom. Get out the door. Go get that listing. You got to be ready to work, right? So your alarm clock goes off, you put your clothes on, brush your teeth, come to the office, go to your kitchen, wherever you go, be ready. All right, now you're at work. For me, it's 8 o'clock. From 8 to 9:30, we do administration stuff. When I was practicing, 8 to 9 o'clock, doing administration stuff. All right, so I picked up a listing. We got to put it on the MLS. I would do it at that time. I work with a buyer, need to do some property searches for that buyer. I do it at that time. Create me my checklist or my buyers folder because it's a new client that I met with last week. Do during that time, right? Go through my emails. Do it during that time, right? The colors mean something on my calendar. The red means that doesn't make me money, right? It's stuff that's necessary for us to do this business, but that red, it don't make money, right? Me doing searches for buyers does not make me money. Me putting properties onto the MLS, like physically typing it, adding the pictures, doing all that stuff, That stuff does not make me money. It's necessary, but it doesn't make me money. The green, that makes me money. That's why it's green. It's for money, right? So lead generation, going on appointments, that stuff's in green, right? The blue on my calendar, the blue is Brooks and Davis, and the purple is my family. The yellow is just stuff that I need to be aware of, and this little pink right here, that's just more like a flex time, right? So if I don't have any appointments, then I can use that maybe to do some admin stuff or some family stuff. It's just some flex time in my calendar. Now, would I advise you to have flex time? No. On your calendar, these slots need to be green. This slot needs to be green. This slot needs to be green on your calendar. It's red on mine because I have protocols and things in place that are doing lead generation for me. I've hired people that are doing lead generation for me here at the corporate office. So what I don't have is a transaction coordinator. So what we're behind on here from a corporate standpoint is we're behind on administration and transaction stuff. But for you, my agents, this whole calendar needs to be green. 80% of it needs to be green because you need to be doing that stuff, the stuff that makes you money. And what makes you money? Talking on the phone, going on appointments, that's what makes you money. Your calendar needs to be filled with that stuff. Okay, so 9 o'clock, I'm going through my administration time. 9 o'clock gets here, and now we're going to lead generate from 9 to 12, right? On Tuesdays, I do from 10 to 12. So 9 to 12, 10 to 12, whatever you pick. We just read the article. The article says you need to commit to at least 2 hours of lead generation every day, all right? So I did 3 hours. Well, what does that look like when we're talking lead generation? Okay, well, let's first start with the CRM. You're finna lead generate. You're gonna go to your CRM and you're going to begin working. Now, I'm finna log out of this one and log back into, because this is actually a different CRM that I'm logged into and I didn't realize it. So I'm finna log into the Brooks and Davis CRM. And the only reason that I'm doing that is because I want to show you, I really want to walk you through this thing. So let's give it a moment. Okay. So here we go. So now, first thing we do is go to the CRM, all right, to the call list. Because remember, when you're doing your lead generating, you're making these phone calls, you're talking to people, and people are saying, give them a call back at whatever time, then you want to, be speaking to these individuals. So you go to your call list, right? And your call list is going to tell you all of the contacts that you need for that day. So it's not you trying to remember, oh yeah, I needed to call Jane Doe because she told me last Thursday that to give her a call next Thursday because she would have time to talk more about it. Or to call John Smith, he said in 2 weeks, give him a call to follow up on him to see if he was ready to move forward with listing the home. Well, you don't have to sit there and try to remember all that stuff. You add Jane Doe, you add John Smith into your CRM, you add them onto your your call list, and then you put the date that you're supposed to follow up on, and then you create the habit of going to this list every day during the first step in your lead generation time. You pull your call list up and you call the people that are on that list for that day as a part of your follow-up. So that's the first thing you do every time you begin your lead generation. All right. So what else do you do during lead generation? Well, we'll start from something that I did yesterday. So I went to an event, right? We talked about networking a couple of weeks ago, And we talked about networking being a noun, not a verb, and that there's no networking that takes place unless there's been a transfer of information. So just because you went to an event and stood around and talked to a couple of people that you didn't know prior to getting there, but there was no transfer of information, you didn't get anybody's phone calls, business card, and none of their contact information, you didn't get none of that stuff, and you want to call that networking? That's not networking. So this is an event that I went to yesterday, and these are all the business cards that I got. All right. This is all the transfer of information that I received from an hour-and-a-half luncheon that I went to at the Turkic American Business Council. Now, that was on Thursday. Wednesday, I went to TSU as an opportunity to kind of give back. They were having a resume boot camp. I look at resumes. We hire people here at Brooks & Davis. So I thought it was a good opportunity for me to spend some time giving back to the community. So I went to a resume boot camp. And guess who? And I ended up meeting somebody. I ended up doing some networking. Now, I went to do some community service, but I ended up networking. How did I network? I ended up during lunchtime sitting next to one of the human resource directors for Klein ISD. What? You sat next to one of the human resource directors for Klein ISD, former principal that knew 3 principals that could get you in to do home buyer workshops for their faculty and staff. You just ended up sitting next to that person because you went to a community service event? Absolutely. Now, could I have just sat next to that person and not talk to him? Absolutely. Did I know if he was going to accept me or reject me? Did I know that he was going to be bothered with me? I didn't know any of that stuff. All I did was grab my sandwich and my water bottle. There were some other seats around that I could have sat. I could have sat in the seat wasn't by nobody and been all by myself, because I know a lot of us get tempted. We go to these events. Oh, there's an open seat right there. I'm going to go sit over there instead of sitting in between 2 people. It was a seat right there. I'm going to sit by these people right here. Right? Because even if I don't initiate the conversation, I put myself in a position to where they may want to say something to me. So I sit next to the guy and I look at him and I smile at him and I say, "Hey, how you doing?" And he says, "Hey, how you doing?" And I start eating my sandwich. And guess what? What do? He asked me, "Oh, I'm a real estate broker. I own a real estate company. What do you do?" "Oh, I'm one of the human resource. I work for Klein ISD." "Really? Well, you're a teacher, principal?" No. I'm in HR." "Oh, you're an HR manager?" "Yeah, I'm one of the HR directors for Klein ISD." "Is that right?" So then guess what? We began to start talking. And I asked him for a business card. I said, "You got a business card?" And he was, "Oh, man, I'm fresh out." So he was like, "Here, I had a business card." He was like, "Yeah, I'm going to take your business card and I'm going to email you." I said, "Look, we all got smartphones. Let me go ahead and get you to get your information. I don't need you to send me your business card. Give me information." Right? I don't know if y'all can see this, but this man's name and number is in my phone. There's no way I was about to let a human resource director for Klein ISD get away from me without getting the name, phone number, and email address, because I want to control the follow-up. All right? So again, that's networking. And I had an opportunity. Now, was it other people that I could have met? Was there a number of people there? Yes. All right. Networking is not about quantity. It's about quality. Right? It's not about how many people you can get. It's about the conversations, the belly-to-bellies that you get with somebody to be real engaging. When I sat next to that man and he told me he was a human resource director, I went into, man, I got to make this guy like me. I started offering, we had a very good, long conversation. I was trying to solidify myself to him and my thoughts of what I wanted him to do for me. It ended with him having a friend who was trying to buy a house. She'd been trying to buy a house for the last 3 years. He gonna make sure that she called me. It ended with, hey, I know, he asked me, do you ever tell people, do you ever educate people on these things, these real estate things? I say, absolutely. That's what we're trying to do in the schools. And I gave him an example of how I did it at Lockhart. And he was like, man, I can think of 3 principals right now that I'm going to reach out to for you to come in and talk to their family. Like he's thinking of this stuff, right? It's not me begging him and telling him to do it. He's wanting to do it. Why? Because I sat down there and I gave him some insight. I gave him, you know, some to let him know that this is what I do. I'm serious about this. I'm wanting to help. I'm wanting to bring value to you. And then he wants to do that, right? So I spent time nurturing that with him instead of getting his card, getting his information, and moving on to the next person. I really want to solidify that relationship, because that could be a really strong relationship if he's able to get me in front of these multiple employees, teachers, faculty, and things like that, that we can talk to, get their contact information, and be able to follow up on. That's lead generation. That's networking to its fullest. Okay, so I get his information. I get these cards. What are my next steps? I need to follow up with them. I need to put them somewhere. What am I going to do? Where am I going to put them? Well, we're going to start off with putting them in the CRM. They need to get in the CRM, right? We need to put them in one of these categories, right? All of these categories, we need to take these individuals, and yes, we need to physically type these individuals into this CRM. Now, when do you do it? Do you do it during lead generation time? No, I wouldn't. You're doing it during your administration time. Is you typing the stuff in there. Or you hire somebody, or a virtual assistant, or an assistant, or you leverage somebody else's time and efforts to do this stuff. Because again, you typing business cards into your CRM is not going to make you money. It's necessary. It's not going to make you money. Now, what can you do? What do you do during it? Maybe you can start sending them some emails. That's lead generation. And we talked about the email templates that we send out. Let me see if I can get to it. I thought I pulled that up. Email. We talked about these email templates in Find the Fortune. It's loading. I thought I had pulled it up already. But we talked about it in Finding Your Fortune in that video. So go back to that video and see that video, so where you can see the email templates that we send out after I meet people and I get their business cards. And it's real simple. It's a just an email that has all of our social media stuff on it, ways that they can connect, has our website on it, has our Facebook page link on it, has all of those items on that email. So it doesn't look like Evernote's going to participate with me today. But so go to that Finding the Fortune. But we're going to take these business cards and we're going to send them a follow-up email, right? So now, if they click on the links, good. If they go to my Facebook page and they friend me, great. If they go to my Brooks and Davis business page on Facebook and they like it, good. If they go to LinkedIn and we ask to connect with us, that's fabulous, right? And the reason I want them to do all of that is because we're creating an audience, we're building an audience, and we're going to nurture, we're going to communicate to that audience on a regular basis, because that's how you generate leads. Being on the front mind of individuals on a consistent basis is how, when they have a conversation with somebody, when they decide on their own to do it, it's how they call you. It's because they've been following me on Facebook for the last 6 months and they've seen my posts that I send out 2 to 3 times a week, or because they connected with me on LinkedIn and they see my posts, or we added them into the constant contact. Remember constant contact? We added them into the constant contact and they get an email from me at least twice a month about different events that we're doing, or the newsletter that we have, or the just anything, or maybe it's staying front of mind, top of mind with somebody that I met at Kelsey Sebo, or that works with Kelsey Sebo, or an agent that I met out and about. So that's how you do that stuff. So we put them in. So in lead generation time, you're sending these emails out. Here we go, LinkedIn. We have a template for LinkedIn. You take the business card, You search for them in LinkedIn. Connect with them in LinkedIn. Say, hey, I want to add you to my LinkedIn network, right? Because again, you want to have that audience of people that you're communicating to on a regular basis. You add them to your constant contact or your MailChimp or whatever email software that you use. We use both of them. And you send out that, you create that newsletter and you send that out on a regular basis. So, you know, you're adding these people onto those platforms is not necessarily lead generation, but you utilizing those platforms is lead generation. You sending out that post, you sending out that email. See, the thing about the newsletter is you can create 12 of them, put them on autopilot, and then ain't got to touch it no more. You can hire a company like City Blast, and they'll do the posting for you onto your social media. It's like $50 a month. It's the best $50 that I've ever paid for in my life, because I can go out there and I can network with all these people, get their information, invite them onto my social media platforms, and I have somebody else posting information to them. So it's on autopilot, right? But it's helping me grow my base. So that's what you're doing, lead generation. All right, what else? You know, on the phone, get on the phone. Maybe you decide you want to call your past clients. Call your past clients and check in with them. I would try to call my past clients at least once a quarter and just see how they're doing to keep you on. I mean, they're your past clients. They've used you before. What better advocate can you have than a past client? I would at least call them once a quarter, maybe send them something in the mail once a month. But if you ain't got no money, that's okay. A phone call don't cost you anything. Call them every month. You know, do that during lead generation time. I haven't even got to for sale by owners and all that other stuff because that just scares everybody to death. Cold calling and for sale by owners and expires and all that. So I ain't even brought that into the equation. There's a plethora of people that you can just call on a consistent basis that are warm leads, warm people that you can do during your lead generation time. Whatever it is, you can send out posts, emails, whatever it is. You need to do it during that lead generation time, during this 9 to 12 or 10 to 12 or whatever time frame that you want to set for yourself, right? Whether that's calling for sale by owners on Zillow, going through your call list, you know, going through business cards or people that you've met out, coming up with and identifying other networking opportunities that you could attend. You can do that during lead generation as well, because that's setting you up to go network, to go meet people. So you want to engage. That 9 to 12 time frame is where you're going to work to get those contacts, get the most contacts. Do that during that 3-hour time frame. If you're working on getting 20 contacts a day, 80% of them you should get in that focused 3-hour time frame. Or 2-hour time frame, whatever you commit to. All right. So now I've done lead generation, so I'm back to my calendar. Right? We're talking getting organized. We looked at calendar. We looked at CRM. We're connecting these dots. How does it all work together? I've done my lead generation time. I set my first appointment for 12:30. Now, why am I able to set my first appointment 30 minutes from the time my lead generation time starts? Because I've already gotten up and put my clothes on for the day. I'm at work. So I don't have to set my appointment for 1:30 or 2 o'clock because now I got to go in there and put my clothes on, take a shower, and brush my teeth. I've already done that in 6 o'clock in the morning when everybody else was asleep. I was getting that stuff out of the way because that sure enough ain't going to make me no money. Being and hanging out in the bathroom. And like me, I like taking long showers. I don't know about anybody else. I like taking long showers. My wife says I'm slow. I am slow. Hey, that's me. Well, if it's 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm doing that stuff, I can afford to be slow. I'm not hurting anything by taking long showers, and I like to listen to gospel music in the morning and sing in the mirror. Well, I can do all that at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning because everybody else is asleep. Well, so I set my first appointment for 12:30. Gives me 30 minutes to get to my appointment. That appointment slot is 12:30 to 1:30. All right, Mike. Well, who are you meeting with? I'm meeting with people during my lead generation time that said they were interested in purchasing a home and they're ready to have a sit-down initial buyer consultation. I meet with them during that time. for a person that said they were interested in selling their home, a for sale by owner. You know, I do listing presentations during those times. Hey, I just met Mr. Human Resource Director yesterday, right? During my 9 to 12 lead generation time, I'm gonna call Mr. Human Resource Director and I'm gonna ask him if he wants to grab some coffee, right? I would take him to lunch. You want to go to lunch, right? I would do that during those appointment times. As I'm out there networking and I'm transferring information and I meet somebody that could possibly be critical to the success of my business, like a human resource director, like a financial planner, like an attorney, like just a plethora of people, a principal. You know, these are people that have a level of influence that could put me or give me a platform or an opportunity to promote my business or educate people on real estate. Then I can meet those people during these appointment slots. What else happens during those appointment slots? How about networking opportunities, right? What if there's a networking event or a builder showcase or any kind of event that's starting at 3 o'clock? Well, I have a 3:30 time slot. I can just put that in my 3:30 time slot. At 3:30, I'm going to go do that. What if I don't have anybody to meet at 2 o'clock? Well, how about I decide to just go continue to do some lead generation? I go knock on some doors. Oh, no, not knocking on doors. Don't do that. Knocking on doors? Are you crazy? You losing your mind? You're asking too much, Mr. Davis, for me to go knock on doors. Well, what else you got to do at 2 o'clock? You done your lead generation. You don't have anybody to meet with. Oh, I know what. You want to go look at TV. You want to go to the movies. You want to go wash your car and go hang out at the park. Not at 2 o'clock. If you was working for, you know, all these oil companies that's laying off, if you was working for one of them, would they let you go hang out at the park at 2 o'clock? Absolutely not. You would be working 9 to 5. Well, you need to do the same thing for yourself, for your new life that you're trying to create. So you go find something to do. Find some lead generating to do. Go to Starbucks. Go to Starbucks, grab you some Starbucks, and sit there and just look at people, look for opportunities to speak to somebody and let them know what you do. Go to the Galleria. Walk the Galleria and just start talking to people, right? We're in the business of talking to people. I met this human resource director because we just had a conversation. It wasn't nothing formalized. It wasn't nothing special. We just started talking. I found out what he did. He found out what I did. Now, was he the only person that I talked to at that event? No, I talked to a number of people at that event. Did I get their information? Some people I did, some people I didn't, because it wasn't no point. But it was a good conversation. It was great to speak to them. But it's critical that you're talking and you're engaging. You're speaking to people, all right? That Uber driver that I spoke to yesterday, and he was talking about his wife and some of the challenges that she had, guess what? I'm going to reach out to her. It was an opportunity. He gave me her business card. I'm going to count him as a contact, and I'm going to reach out to her, and I'm going to invite her to check out our trainings, right? She don't have to pay nothing for that. She don't have to be a Brooks & Davis agent. I'm going to offer her some value through the videos and the insights that I teach you guys. Now, can she come on and be like Sydney and Valerie and be able to engage with me? No, she can't do that because that's only for Brooks & Davis agents. But she can watch it. Is she going to have access to the videos like you all have access to the videos? No, she's not going to have access to the videos or the video recordings. It's just going to be a one and done with her, right? Unless she decides to become a Brooks & Davis agent. But that's a form of follow-up. That's a form of follow-up that we're doing from an agent, from a recruiting standpoint. So the same thing with you guys. You guys have something to offer to people that you meet, that you network with. You have something to offer to them. So you just need to create these things like newsletters and flyers and a lot of the material we have at the office. You guys just got to come get it and ask for it, that you can send to people. Things of value that's valuable to people, information. And you can be seen as that expert in that information source. So that's what you do. So the 2 o'clock appointment, you go on appointment. 3:30, 5 o'clock. I used to go to the city council meetings. City council meetings are at 2 o'clock every Tuesday. You think that's a good place to network? The city council? You're talking about the movers and shakers of the city come together once a week. Go to the council meeting at 2 o'clock. Do that during your appointment time. The Commissioner's Court, Harris County Commissioner's Court, they meet once a month at 10 o'clock. All right. Now, I tell y'all to do lead generation from 9 to 12. Well, does that include you going to the Commissioner Court meeting? Absolutely. It's part of that's lead generation. It's once a month. Go to the Commissioner Court and see and meet some of those are the movers and shakers for the county. HISD trustee board meetings. Like, there are people out there, and I can tell you where to go to meet these people, but I can't make you get up and do it. Now, that's the part that you got to get on and partner with me on. All right, so you can shut it down. I think a strong work day is 9 to 5. Now, what I used to do is that on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I would set evening appointments because there are people, they have jobs, and they can't meet until in the evening time. So you don't have to leave it wide open. Just say, hey, look, if you got to do an evening meeting, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. That was my thing. I didn't work on Sundays. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. If somebody needed to meet at 7 o'clock, Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturday. Somebody needed to meet at, or they had to meet after work during their working hours. Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. A lot of times there are different events, like this mixer that we're doing right here next Wednesday. Do that in the evening time. Now, it's going to be some great networking going on there. It's a mixer that we're putting together because it was an organization that I'm a part of. And because I'm a part of that organization, let me go nurture those relationships. This right here is everything of what I'm telling you all to do. Created, and it was my idea. I brought it to the table. I was like, hey, let's do an alumni event, a mixer event. And what it does is that it gets me into a room of people that I have something in common with because we've all gone through this Leadership Institute together. I have something in common with them. I'm the only real estate professional there. I partnered with a mortgage professional that's a part of the group, an insurance professional that's a part of the group. We're pulling our funds, and now it allows us to be in front of our classmates, people that we already have a connection with. Put us in front of about 30, 40 people that we already have a connection with, that we're already nurturing, to just stay top of mind with those individuals. So I'm doing the stuff that I'm telling you all to do. I can't tell you exactly what to do or how to do it because you have to cater it around your particular life, around your particular setup. Like around if you're a part of a particular church, you're a part of a particular organization, you're going to particular networking events. Like, it has to be built around your life, catered to your life. It's the concept that I'm trying to get you to understand, and the strategy that I'm trying to get you to understand that I want to work with you on, that is going to help create that life that we're looking to get for you, right? So, again, I wanted to continue our conversation about connecting these dots because I can show you this slide. I can show you this slide all day long. I can show you this slide all day long and you not know what to do with it. There's 6 items on this thing, and I can say where do the new agent begin, what are the things you need to be doing. I can show you that slide, but if I don't have the conversations that we've had these last couple of weeks, then you're not going to be able to perform under this model, under this business model. I had to show you how to connect these things together. Now look, we really only went to going on appointments, right? This transactional stuff of how to do a buyer's appointment, how to do a listing appointment, again, we may talk about that stuff during our weekly trainings, but we may not, because what I'm really doing is I'm really pushing you all to fill that funnel, because that funnel, look, I would rather you be a great lead generator and a so-so transactional person versus being an expert transactional person and a so-so lead generator. Because that excellent transaction person is not going to be making any money because he's not going to have anybody to work his excellent transactional skills on. So I'm trying to make you all a bang out, expert, perfect lead generator, marketer, so you can fill your tunnel with numerous people, right? And what's going to happen is that you're going to be doing so many transactions that you're going to end up being or turning into an expert transactional person. Because the overall goal, if you're going to offer a greater experience for every stakeholder, which is our purpose, then that means not only are you going to be a great lead generator because you want to help as many people as possible, you're also going to be an excellent transactional person because it makes the process a lot smoother, right? So the ultimate end game is to get you there, get you to become both. But the one that's most important, especially for a new agent, is these first three, really these first three. Because without these first three, you'll never make it to 4 and 5, right? 6 is important as well. You should be doing that all the time. But without these first three, you'll never make it to 4 and 5. And we got to get you to 4 and 5. I kind of went over. I'm sorry. I had a lot to talk about. I had a lot to tell you guys. I'm really serious about this connecting this dots stuff. So I went a little long today. We're going to some coaching here in a little bit. I want to give a quick update on the conflict resolution from last week. And you see this big smile that I have on my face because, you know, it's hard. One of the things that I learned from a young lady. She's been in title for like 45 years. And she did a lot of title work for us at one point. And she would always, when we ran into challenges and issues, she would always say, hey, look, it's going to work out. It always does. That was her statement. She lived by it. She owned it. It's going to work out. It always does. No matter how bleak it looked, no matter how hopeless the situation, you put in all this work. You've been working for months on this deal, and now it's going to bust out. You're freaking out because you need that commission check because you got some bills you got to pay. You're freaking. It's a bunch of anxiety. And she would always say, don't worry. It's going to work out. It always does. Okay, so last week I talked about this situation where we put in a lot of work on this this duplex listed $256,000. We were working on it, trying to close on it, and the deal busted out because the buyer couldn't get their financing, and they were fighting us, the seller. I'm the listing agent, the seller, fighting for us to return their earnest money. They weren't going to resign, but contractually, they were in default. They were trying to find items. They were using the seller's disclosure notice not being received within 3 days as they're out to get their earnest money back, although we are weeks, months. We're about a month and a half into this thing. We've extended the closing date twice, and now they can't get there. They want another 2 weeks. My seller's like, I'm not giving another 2 weeks. And now the buyer's like, well, y'all are canceling it. We want our earnest money back. The seller's like, I'm not signing. I'm telling the seller, I don't blame you, right? And we'll just see how it happens. We put the property back on the market, and I ended last week with saying, hey, it hasn't been resolved yet, but we'll see how it goes. This was last Thursday. I recorded it. You can mark my words. I get a text message on Tuesday. Mind you, this house is on the market. We're getting showing. I mean, it's duplex. We're getting showings. We're following up with the agents. Matter of fact, we even got an offer on Wednesday on the property. Now, it's now my seller needs to get her money quick, but we got an offer that was submitted, and we were considering it. Well, I ended up getting a text on Tuesday. On Tuesday, I get a text, and the text is from the buyer's agent. And the buyer's agent says that the appraisal came in at $255, that the buyer is still interested if the seller is willing to sell it. So that was on Monday. Okay, so I'm like, okay, bet, they're interested. She said the buyer's out of town. When she comes back in, I'll follow up with her. All right, I didn't hear nothing else. Well, we get this offer in on Wednesday, and the seller has actually spoken to this other offer that's come in. And I don't know how they got access to the seller, but they did. So the seller told me that I would be getting this offer. Wednesday, the agent sent in the offer. I reached out to the buyer's agent, that other buyer's agent. I said, look, we got another offer. We're about to entertain this offer. You got any updates? She responds and says, look, and I sent her this text in the morning. So she waits the entire day, and then I get a text at like 8 o'clock at night that says, and this is on Wednesday, the buyer is actually in a position to close tomorrow. All we need is an amendment. This is Wednesday. This is, yeah, because today's Friday. So this is Wednesday, 2 days ago. So I'm like, okay. I reach out to the seller, make a long story short. Seller agrees to it, sign the amendment, get it over to the title company, close on that bad boy yesterday. Deal done, right? And this is 7 days from a conversation that I'm having with you guys about this thing busting out. My point is that it always works. It's going to work out. It always does. And I mean that because I know how it's going to get. I mean, it's going to get tough. It's going to feel like it's hopeless, and it's going to be bad. You're going to have those moments. You're going to be afraid, like the article talked about, your mindset. What do you do with that fear and that doubt? Well, what I choose to do with it, and what I encourage you all to do with it, is tell yourself, tell those fears and tell those doubts, it's going to work out. It always does. So I wanted to end today with that. That right there has happened on numerous occasions through my career in real estate. So it's really made me a believer of not tripping and getting freaked out when things aren't working out or it's not looking well, because I've seen that happen on so many occasions. So when those times happen in your life and in your career and in your transaction, because they are going to happen, period. Like you're not immune, like nobody's immune. So they are going to happen. When they happen, I want you to remember what I said, and I want you to hone into that statement as well. It's going to work out. It always does. Keep telling yourself that, and you believe that. That's all I have. Any questions, comments? I'm monitoring the message board. I'm monitoring the group me for the people that are taking a look. Anybody that's on, Sydney, Valerie, if you have anything, please let me know.
Okay, I'm trying to this Val.
Say it again, Valerie.
I was trying to do the sponsorship because I finished my classes
Oh, did
and
you?
I'm
Well, look at you,
confident.
girl. Okay.
Don't do me.
You say what? Oh, don't do it. All right, did you go to
So
Trek?
I'm on here now,
Okay. And what's it saying?
and do I just put who which what am I trying to say?
I don't know.
Goodness, which license number do I put in?
You say which what?
Which broker like the license number
Oh,
to?
you ready? 0584.
Okay.
So 0584-735. Here, share your screen with me.
Oh,
You know
I'm
how to
at
do that?
work.
Huh?
I'm at work.
Okay.
Let me see. Hold on.
Are you on your phone? You on your phone or computer?
Yeah, I'm on my phone,
Are
so
you
I'm
on
gonna
your
have to turn it. Can
Okay.
you see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so I have to go back to the home page because I don't know what I just did. Hold on.
You got a lot of screens.
Shh. Okay, so I clicked the first one, right?
What did it
Where it
say?
says change your license information and manage relationships. Can you see it?
Yeah,
Oh crap. So can you see?
I can.
Okay. I clicked the first one where it says sales agent, right?
Yeah.
And then I go to manage my sponsorship for sales.
Okay.
And okay, so I'm on the introduction page. Click next. And I go to request sponsorship.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And I put that license number that you gave me right in the license number box.
Yes.
Okay. And for license type, which one do I choose? Is it the LLC, the company, or the individual?
It's LLC.
Okay. Okay.
Did he do it?
It did it. Yeah, I was trying to figure it out last night and I was kind of lost.
Boom. That's what we're here for.
All right.
Connecting them dots.
Thank
All
you,
right.
sir.
Well, if you don't have nothing else, man, you enjoy your weekend. We'll see you, God willing. We'll see you next week.
Okay, you too.
All right.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. So Sydney was on there. She fell off. All right, gang. I don't see any other questions or comments, any other coaching needed. So we're going to sign off for this edition. God willing, you guys have a great Easter weekend. Take some time, reflect, refresh, and then come back, hit it strong next week. It's a bunch of opportunity out there in the city. And, somebody's going to make that money. Why not us? All right, gang. Y'all have a great one.